This time, I'll make sure the mute button is off. How you guys all doing? Get Respect Studio, welcome to the stream. I think it's the first time I'm seeing you here. Welcome. We'll probably wait a couple more minutes for some more people to pile in. So, hey Bodhi, how you doing? So yeah, today, it's actually kind of funny. I was thinking the other day, this game is all about rarity, right? The rarer, the better, the more awesome. And I mean, that's what NFTs are about. And never ever have we considered like how we're actually going to share this or show this rarity in the game, other than having a name somewhere, a tag somewhere. Of course, we've already sort of worked on the rarity indicator, the visual indicator with the CPUs that are going to light up. Well, that's something we can work on today. But I've also added or created in Photoshop a little banner that can go over the icons. So we'll probably have to put that on at least the inventory slots. I don't think I have some ideas how we can do it in the actual armory, but yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see if I do that now or not. Me and Photoshop, not friends. So yeah, that's what we're up to today. Let me just stir this coffee up. Well, can't develop without coffee. That's impossible. It's probably still too hot. That's my problem always. I'm not good with hot stuff. So, basically, I guess we have to do four things. This stream, the next 3 hours, is successful if we get 4 things done. One is we get the rarity tags in for the inventory and the part slots. 2 is when we get the CPUs, the rarity CPUs, to glow up based on the rarity of the item. The third one is if we get the comparison tool of the info card to work. And then last but not least, since we have been changing the data structure to accommodate the future of what the armory is supposed to be, I have no doubt that at various points I've actually broken the code of the actual main game scene, as that is of course using that data structure to determine when you build a tower, how much damage does that tower do, etc, etc. So that is definitely going to need some adjustments as well. I've already addressed a couple of those elements in the code, but I quite quickly saw that was actually a little bit more involved than I originally thought. So if we can fix those 4 things this stream, I'm going to be happy. I would say that's good progress. So I guess we can start off. Well, let's first just play the game and see where we are, see what we have to do. I see, good. How are you doing? So in the armory, right now, when you look at the schematics that you would have as a player or the parts, you can't really see from the icon, the image, what rarity this part has. We can see this power core, but we would have to click it to figure out that the tech level is modern. And of course, we got our 6 different tech levels there. It would be nice if we can have a little bit of an indicator that shows what the actual tech level is. It's late having router config issues, only being a tech. Lol. So we need to have some sort of an indicator, and I quickly made something in Photoshop. It's probably going to be replaced by something, I don't know, better, more elaborate, but it's definitely going to function for a placeholder and may even be good enough to function all the way through early access. And of course, it's very vague, it's difficult to see, but here we got this bar of 6 CPUs which need to color up depending on the rarity of the item. So in case of modern, it's the 2nd level, so we want 2 CPUs to light up with a specific color. So we also have to determine the color scheme. I'll probably put that on the game data singleton, so that in the future we could just really easily change this, and then we could just make references to that singleton at various places in the code. And if we ever want to update the color scheme of the rarities, then we can just do it on one place and then we change it everywhere at the same time. So, I guess we'll just start working off with the rarity stuff. If we can get that going, that'll be good. Then we can get the comparison maybe in, and then finally we can work on making sure that the whole game loop is functional again with this new data structure that we implemented last Tuesday. Time did not fly this time, but it does feels like still it flies. All right, with that said, so the inventory slot basically have two base templates. That is the part slot and that is the schematic slot, which are instanced in for each inventory item that you have of this particular category. Now we have the icon here itself. We have the part being the background image that functions as the button. And then we have the stack, which is a label in case you have a stack size, if you have something that's more than one. Of course, stack is going to be on top of icon. So I guess what we would simply have to do is add a texture rectangle to the mix. We'll rename this, call this rarity. We'll change this layout to the full rectangle. And with expand on, I've added that new image, made this in PowerPoint. This image is basically I just, pulled this image into Photoshop, drew this on top of it, removed the other layer, and then saved it. So if I go full layout, because the image has exactly the same size, I can just drop it on a texture and it should sit quite neatly in there. And like I said, we can change this. We'll probably find a better way to display this. For now, perfect placeholder, gonna be fine. So we can add it here to the part slot, and we can do exactly the same here. We'll add a texture rectangle. We'll rename this to rarity. And with expand on, we'll drop the indicator in here, and on full rectangle, that nicely sits in the corner. All right. The next up, we probably want to get the game data singleton out here. We're gonna need a new variable. We'll call it rarity colors. We'll probably make this a dictionary, where the dictionary is going to be, then you need to know your names. I haven't gotten used to them yet. I'm so used to the fantasy RPGs with your common, uncommon, etc, etc, etc. We got an error here. New extension added. Adobe Acrobat. Doesn't really sound like an error, but whatever. Let's zoom this in a little bit for you. Yeah, come on, go. So we have the outdated, modern, high-tech, next-gen, quantum, and enigmatic. So I guess we can take this, put that in here. Make sure that all of these are strings. And then we'll give them a color code and a comma. And then we'll have to add that color to it. So we are simply gonna go, probably, we don't have to go all, think difficult about the whole color scheme. We already changed the rarity names to more fit the sci-fi genre that we're working on here. But I think for the colors, we shouldn't go crazy, right? We shouldn't suddenly make purple the common item and gray the enigmatic item. So I think we can go with a pretty common color scheme for the rarities. Also make sure you got that recognizability for players. Sometimes trying to do things differently isn't always the best. So we're gonna self-modulate these. So we're gonna need a gray. And again, I'm not gonna think about this like too long. I just want this to, as a placeholder, but it's not even a placeholder. We can change these color codes whenever we want. So this is going to be outdated. then it's usually a type of green for the next level. So this looks fine with me. Then usually is a kind of blue. And what do we get then? Normally it's like red then. If you guys feel like I need to be using different colors, just put it in the chat. And the color scheme I'm referencing in my mind is one with 5 rarity levels. Of course, we're having 6, so we have to come up with a last color. I would almost go for black. You know, it kind of fits the name, right? Enigmatic. Got red, got blue, we got green, we got yellow. I think, you know what? I'm just gonna go with black. It fits the whole secret, enigmatic. It fits that whole theme, I think. All right, so now we got these rarity colors in here. What we need to do when we load the inventory, we actually need to get that rarity node, and we need to color it based on the color we have here. So that will be in the armory. In the armory, we probably have something like a tier bar or selected, populate armory, load inventory. White, green, blue, orange, red, violet, gold are usual cost. Yeah, I got the white grayish, green, blue. I got red, orange. That's sort of like that. I see a lot of games switch that up, whether orange or red comes first. And then yeah, violet is something as well, and then gold. But orange and gold are quite close to each other. But again, you know, this is as easy as changing a color. I'm gonna make references to those 6 variables anywhere we're gonna work with rarity. So anywhere we put this up, we can just change it. That doesn't make sense. That's not English, but you know what I mean, hopefully. So as we're loading our inventory, we get our data out of S-inventory schematics I name. And of course, in that name, we also have, let me maybe open that up. Still got the Soul Whisper shortcuts. Yeah, that's not where I want to be. NFT game server. So here we have the tech level. So that's what we need to get. So we need to get the schematic plot new. We want to get the node rarity. We want to self modulate. That's an underscore, right? I can also use normal modulate, self modulate. I guess makes a little bit more sense here. And then as input, we want to use game data, rarity colors. And as input, we need the S inventory schematics, but then instead of name, we need to get the tech level. So that's input 1. That's it. And we should be able to do pretty much an identical line of code. Let's see, here we get the icon set texture. If the item name is not null. Hey, that's interesting. I'm pretty sure I moved away from this approach. It's funny that I didn't change that in the other one yet. This should be able to just be the same. So I believe we can get away with that. We can bring this back. That's here where we can add the coloring of the rarity. But now I need to get the part slot. Probably capitalized the node name because I always do that. And then we have the rarity colors, but instead of the S inventory, we need the parts section. Tech level. We got a link there. Yes, that can go on the screen. Color coding. /DC universe. So there's 5, there's 6. Guild Wars. I would think that's so annoying, right? And your basic item is going to be blue, and then your best item is going to be purple. That is just, I know he came up with that color scheme. Doesn't make any sense to me. Oh wait, and you got white as well. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so these are 7, these are 6. So white, which I now have as gray. We can get close to white. More down. The popularization. Diablo 2 color coding. Yeah, inferior, gray. That's sort of, I guess, where I get that from. But then they have the normal white. That's true. That's true. In Diablo, I wouldn't mind following that either. Although I'm afraid that white is going to look a little bit... it's going to blend too much with the rest of the UI. So that's why I guess I was trying to maybe unconsciously avoid white. Then indeed blue. Well, I had I had the red. Then indeed the orange. And a set item indeed was green. The consider system. Dark Age of Camelot consider system. The naming is. World of Warcraft viral spread. At launch today. Oh, they changed it? That's even worse. Ah, okay, they added some stuff. Here they go, gray, white, blue, purple. And then the rarest is red. I thought more games... Maybe it's the games that I played, is that red is usually the epic color. Hey Mario. White or gray? Yeah, I think so too. Just the basic one is white or gray. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I kind of like that World of Warcraft at launch one. Orange was the highest. Yeah, I think most games I played, orange was legendary. And you see here, but in both cases, orange is legendary. Just more stuff after that, I guess. Let's go with this one. So we already have gray for poor or bad. Then the white, I think, will drop because this is 7 anyway. Then we have the green, the blue. And then I had green, blue, red, orange, black. So it means that we need to bring our 4th color to the back and have to add purple on 4. So it means that this is gonna go there. And then we have to add purple. Artifact was ultra rare and only popped up at endgame. God's been the issue. Here's a surprise for you. I haven't played a single second. I never played World of Warcraft. And that's kind of surprising because I am quite a sucker for RPGs, but I don't know, I was never able to get into that. I think especially the graphics just didn't appeal to me. I remember that the graphics, even at launch, were well, not outdated, that's the wrong word. I mean, they were intentionally low poly, of course, to support the world. But yeah, I was never able to get into it. I never even tried, so I can't even say that. Never really appealed to me. Trinity Core will emulate Seraph. Yeah, so you were down deep. Okay. So this is with red at the end, purple in the middle. Totally fine with that. And, you know, all I care about is that people recognize it. World of Warcraft was a popular game, so people will recognize it, I hope. That's really all I care about. I was where people should go. So let's see if this loads up. Oh, self-modulate in the base texture rectangle. Yeah. Oh. Played exactly 6 months. 3 months Burning Crusade, got bored, then got Wrath of Lich King, got bored of 3 months, and never went back. It's funny. What's Orbem Wars? I just started the Tower Defense series. Well, Orbem Wars. One moment. Why does it look like this green bar is thicker than this orange bar? It's probably just me, you know, but or maybe it's just a visual effect because of that little slit of pixels that is left there. I don't know. I didn't know we had two modern or quantum. Oh yeah, these are quantum then, of course. Oh yeah, oh no, true. We did put two quantum things in our inventory. And this one's modern. That is modern. Okay. Orbem Wars is a tower defense game. Salman, welcome to the stream. Basically how it works is that I create tutorials. I try to do that once a week, and in the last couple of weeks I haven't been able to get to it. So if you start out the series, new episodes are going to come November again. So that's sort of like what I do every weekend. I try to make a tutorial every weekend. Then every Tuesday and Thursday I live stream the game development of my own project. And currently I'm working on a project together with Secret that you see here in the chat as well. And we're working on a tower defense game with a twist, because this is an online tower defense game with NFTs on the Secret Network blockchain. So it's basically the beginner tutorial of tower defense, then taken to the extreme with probably the most complexity that you can currently ask for in game development. I like to do that first of all because I just love the interaction, and you know, it's really starts to be like a community thing. But second of all, I also think it's really important because tutorials make things look super easy, and real game development is nothing like you see in a tutorial. You know, it's blood, sweat, and tears. It is fiddling around. It is trying things, experimenting, prototyping, refactoring, and you know, game development is like one big learning journey. And I sometimes feel very strongly that tutorials although they teach people a lot, sometimes they may also demotivate people because, you know, they watch a tutorial and, oh, look, it's so easy. Why can I not think of that? And, you know, it's like you don't see what's gone into making a tutorial, which is sometimes quite a time-consuming process. So with the live streams, people sort of see that, you know, what game development, I guess, really is. And it's one big struggle. One big struggle with a champagne bottle in the end to go into the next struggle for version 1.1. That's game development. So that's what Orbem Wars is. Stream making a tutorial, then they'll really appreciate it. Yeah, that's gonna be a long stream. Contract of color, contrast, yeah. And brightness of the color used will visually look small and others at the same exact size. Yeah. I was already thinking that's probably it. But it's also interesting. Let's see if I can zoom in this, because here it looks like it's misplaced. Ah, scheisse. That's because of the different button. I would have to scale. Okay, that's something. Like I said, it's a placeholder. And this very much shows how much placeholder it is. That's something we'll have to address in a future version. Thanks for your hard work. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Okay, so now we have this rarity indicator here. Now we want these CPU icons to lit up as well. So, you know, quantum is the 5th rarity. So in this case, we want 5 of these CPUs to light up, and each of those CPUs needs to light up with the color of this particular rarity. So if we were to click into one of these quantum turrets, then of course we want 5 orange CPUs, and if we were to click into a modern one, we would want to have 2 green CPUs. So that's up next. So I guess we first have to look into the armory, how we've actually structured that in the info card. It appears to be just a separate VBox container that sits next to, or probably on top of, or overlapping the margin container, with the textures 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbered, and they're already going in reverse order, so that's good. So we would have to know. We would have to know what the rarity level is. So from the game data, if we, for example, have quantum, we could say that we're just. Oh no, because this is not. Can't do that. We can't count in a dictionary because it's not deterministic. Want to follow the color of the spectrum, then red will be lowest. Oh, let's not go there. Nobody will recognize that. Everybody will say that we have pulled a Guild Wars. Let's not go there. Okay, so we could say something as easy. Said before, I'll say it again. RGB. We could do something as easy as simply have an array, because the array order is deterministic. Okay. Then in the armory code, when we load the info card, we do that here. We're matching the source. We definitely need the source. We're setting the header. We're resetting the stat fields. We set the stat fields. I can just guess we can just have a new entry, and then we set the rarity indicator. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the naming, I think it's funny because, you know, sometimes also like, oh, what was the third one again? Oh, what was the fourth one again? And actually you would want that recognizability to be there. If we want to change that back, we can change that back. I kind of like it in the narrative. It's good that you share, by the way, Secret, that makes you uncomfortable. It feels good from the cool effect, but at the same time, the recognizability for new players is extremely important for player retention. So definitely, that's why I don't want to mix up the colors. But you're right, that's a trade-off that we have to consider. And maybe we haven't considered that enough, or I have maybe not considered that enough. Anyway, for now, we're gonna have to go to game data because we're gonna define a new variable, and that will be the rarity grade, which is going to be game data rarities, and we're gonna find our source, source, and in our source we want to get that thing that we had before. No, we don't want to change that, and we want to close that one. We need to get the tech level. Now this, come on. Yeah, that's an array. By default, it's 0. Search the array for interest. It's index or -1 if not found. So we want to get this plus 1. So then we have the rarity grade. I guess then we can retrieve the rarity color from game data dot rarity colors. Source tech data, tech level, sorry. And then we can say for I in get nodes, then we're going to get the rarity VBox container. In that, we're going to get the children of that container. That returns us an array of the children. Then we're going to say if integer I get name is bigger or equal, is smaller or equal to the rarity grade. In that case, you need a column, and then here you want what? You want an extra bracket. If that's the case, then I self-modulate is going to be the rarity color. Now, before we can do this, we have to reset. So we're gonna go, well, actually, we don't have to reset, or we can just do that with an else statement. Else, that means that you are not in the right group. We're going to I self-modulate with color, and then we need to get the color that we currently gave to them. This color. And then we we go. That should do it. There we go. Now, in the future, we might want to give these like some sort of a glow, you know, a little bit of more visual fidelity, right? To make it look a little bit more cool. But for now, you have a very strong visual indicator of how rare a certain item actually is. Maybe they're coming on a little bit too strong. Maybe we need to tone them down a little bit, make them a little bit smaller. But, you know, such detailing, that's for later. That's the polish. Thanks for the sub, Peter Jones. Like pulsing glow. Don't want to add too much glow, so it would bullshit. Yeah. Yeah, it's just really just a touch of glow. Doesn't need to have anything more. All right. So now that we have this, and last stream we already made sure that we can compare two weapons. Oh, this is actually interesting. This now already works for the items we have equipped. Hey, I'm not... Isn't this supposed to go away now? I thought we had it all figured out last stream. But apparently we missed yet another possibility. Yeah. Okay, so we need the... Did we actually code? You should comparison. We need to deactivate or hide. Yeah, hide the info card. You didn't code when you back to the main bar. I thought I did actually. So that is on tower selected. If selected tower is null, here we have a hide info card. Filter if we are selecting or unselecting a tower. If tower node rest is false. So here we're unselecting a tower, then we hide. Otherwise, show the tier buttons. But every time that you select the tower, I think it's pretty safe to say we have to hide the info card by default. I mean, just, you know, general thought. You know, if I'm here and I were to select this one, I want that to hide. If we're here and I deselect that one, I want it to hide. If I go here, I want it to hide. I can't think of a single situation where I would want it to stay. So I think we're just gonna take this. I say reset the tiers and parts if another tower was already selected. Filter for select for unselect tower. Unselect any other tower that may have been selected before this. And we're just gonna say hide the info card. Unload the tier bar. That seems to work. Or do as I expect it to do. All right. So now the fun part. And that is the comparison. So last stream, we worked quite hard on making sure that once we have a tower selected, we can then select another turret, and it will recognize that we have a turret selected, and it will activate, that's what we got right here, it will activate the comparison mode, where these two turrets are now going to be compared in this sheet. If you were to want to inspect this turret, you would have to deselect this one and select it. Has modern railgun so much better than antique? I'm not sure about the antique railguns. Knowing you, it might be a practical joke that is, I don't know, maybe not fit for YouTube. But I think you just want the outdated railgun. That's honestly like I think we'll give you the outdated railgun, Doc. Seems like the way to go. Antique railgun, medieval railgun. David, breed the science beat. That's an interesting name. I welcome both, and thanks for subbing. And he can be working on firing himself. Is outdated actually the next step down? I was making a joke. Outdated is the most basic one, so let's say. Where in the fantasy RPG you have your rusty one, you have your outdated as an outdated tech, modern tech, then you get, I believe, next gen, or was it high tech, next gen, quantum, and then enigmatic. All right, so and we do the same here with the parts, this would activate comparison mode. Okay. So as you select a turret and we activate comparison mode, we don't care about the value column, because the value is the turret including the stat modifications from the parts that are fitted to the turret. So here you can see that this particular turret has a design of 150. The design is as a singular value because we're not going to randomize the outdated and modern turrets. So the quality is 150. So the value is because this has a damage modification of 20. The turret has a final damage value of 170. Now, if we compare that to a NFT, NFTs are going to have a design range and a final quality, which is going to be determined by the smart contract on the blockchain that will randomly pick, on minting the NFT, a value between the design range and a final value. Now, this final value is currently incorrect. That's not in all the calculations yet, so we don't have to worry about that one. However, so the value is a non-issue for comparison, or a non-go for comparison, because you would always be comparing the turret without parts to a turret with parts. So that's easy as that. No value comparison. Design is not really that interesting. You really care about the quality. So I think we're only going to be comparing on quality here, where we'll have to, probably in between brackets, we have to add, well, then we can do two things. We can, in between brackets, add whatever the value of this turret is, or we can add between brackets the change that turret would have if it were to be fitted, and then in red and in green indicate whether that's a plus or a minus. Wait, you're making a blockchain game? Then Steam just ban all of those? Steam did remove all NFT games. That's correct. We talked about it last Tuesday on stream, how it's most likely a risk mitigation decision on their end, and how smaller platforms are probably going to be more risk comfortable to allow these kind of games in their chase of Steam. That's what you saw that the Epic Games immediately did. Epic Games and their platform immediately, came out with a news item like I leave 1.5 hours, I believe, after Steam's announcing that all NFT games are welcome on their platform. So, it's just going to be another vertical on which these platforms compete. That part follows their guidelines. Oh no, I don't think he planned on releasing on Steam. Now, I had no intention to release on Steam. The only stores that I'm not worried about it, but I can see that taking a turn for the bad, I guess, is we would love to release this game on mobile as well, probably targeting the Google Play Store first. If Google Play Store were to say no more NFT games, I think that will be bad for the industry in general. Like, there's a lot of alternative platforms to Steam, although Steam is, of course, it's definitely number one. But there's many other ways that you can distribute your game online on a desktop. It's not that easy on mobile. So, of course, what we had planned for mobile support is probably going to be through WebRTC. So you would still be able to play it on a mobile. You would just have to get it through circumventing the Play Store, which is not the end of the world, but I do hope that the Play Store will continue supporting these kind of games. I think Google is generally Google is quite acceptance of this, but I think it's not. I think the same reason with Steam, right? I think nobody at Steam thinks NFT games are bad. That's honestly what I think. I think it's just a business decision that them saying like, look, we don't know what regulatory demands are going to come in. We don't know the regulatory landscape around these games. We don't know whether we are or we are not violating any legislation in one of the 195 countries that we're providing our services. It's a whole legal minefield. They don't only have to check the US, they have to check every single jurisdiction, which is basically 195 nations. And some nations even having different jurisdictions per region, like in the US, where 49 states are crypto tolerant and 2 states are crypto banning everything. So, if you look at a company's perspective and the chances of Steam violating certain legislation, having to try and keep up with that is extremely difficult. So from a risk mitigation perspective, it is a sound business decision if you're the number one already anyway, to just say, you know what, we're not going to burn our hands. We'll let other people figure this out. We're big enough. We'll give this to somebody else. It makes sense. It makes total sense for them to do. I would have probably advised them to do it if they were to ever ask me. Not that they're gonna ask me, but yeah, it makes sense. I don't like it. I don't think it's good for Steam in the long run, but I don't think it will damage Steam in the long run enough for them to not make this decision the way they've made it. They're looking at the taxes mainly, each country having their own taxes and having specific types of taxes dealing with items that have value, which is why Steam is not wanting to deal with it. Yeah, but that's not traded by Steam. So, the items are never traded in the game itself. The items are always traded off platform. So, yeah, no. I don't think it's taxes. I think it's legislation. If I don't know, pick a random country. If Kazakhstan decides that tomorrow businesses are not allowed to profit off of NFTs because, I don't know, they are some weird security. It's like also like the management that Steam would have to put up, right? They would have to, like, for every game that is an NFT, you would have to put it in a you have to track it, and then, you know, as soon as a country comes with legislation, you have to ban that particular game in that particular jurisdiction. Now, truth be told, they already do this kind of stuff with some, some titles. They're so controversial, especially when they are related to, like, certain historical events. You know, a game about, let's say you create a game that plays out, I don't know, the imperial time of Japan and how Japan conquered a big part of Asia in their imperialistic days, like from 1880 to, well, the end of the Second World War. You know, that's a period that Japan still doesn't want to talk about, and they still say that they haven't done anything bad back then. Whether that's true or not, you know, I'll leave that for everybody to decide for themselves. But if you create a game around that era, that concept, that storyline, that narrative, trust me, that game is going to be banned in Japan. Japan will not allow that. Will not allow that game is to be released. So for that kind of thing, Steam already has their, you know, their tools and their management, and they can make sure that particular game does not end up on the Steam store for a Japanese individual. So, you know, but to extend such a system to NFTs and then all the jurisdiction, that's tough. I kind of understand Steam. I don't want to, but I do. Steam is in Washington. There are hack regulations in. Yeah, and again, it's like, I don't think that has that much. It could be a factor, Secret, absolutely. But the fact is, Steam doesn't earn any money from NFTs in games. Steam earns money from the developers putting their games on Steam, and potentially taking a piece of the profit of any sales or subscription kind of models. Now, it might be that Steam would want to earn from the NFT sales if there are there, but that's unlikely, and currently that doesn't happen. And that would also be difficult, and then Steam would have to have all kinds of, like, regulations in place, which are not there yet. So I don't see them excluding each other. I do think that Steam sees it as a risk, maybe for future business conduct. I think that just the legislative landscape in all the countries where they offer their services is the issue. I mean, that would be a headache to manage. Yeah, but even if you start a company in Nevada, Secret, if your platform is accessible in the Netherlands, then for the products and services that you offer in the Netherlands, the Dutch legislation applies. And the same is true for France and Germany and all the other countries. It's like, if a product is banned in a country, then you cannot offer that product in that country. So it goes further than just the state of where the HQ is, or where, you know, the entity is registered as a company. It's more complex than that. It's definitely a factor, but I think the main factor currently, as they're not making a profit from it, is the legislation around whether or not the product is or is not banned per country, which is just, it's the Wild West at the moment. How to play that game? We all know, Nog, you are a sucker for Japanese things. All right, let's get this comparison going. I can talk about NFTs forever. So I think it would look best if we display the difference between your currently fitted turret and the turret that you're comparing it to. In between brackets, we show the difference. Green if it's better, and red if it's worse. So that would mean that we need to get a second label in here, or we have to convert all these labels to rich label text. You know what? That's actually funny. It's definitely not funny. I've never had to do color colored text in Godot with like, you know, different colors. Godot documentation, rich text label. I believe it's the rich text label that allows you to do that. This is not the first thing banned in even a state. You cannot do by certain things like, yeah, exactly. On a state level, it's even done. Does not have a system to stop sales. Yeah, they do. That's what I just explained. They have a system for that, but usually it's crystal clear whether something can or cannot be sold in a certain jurisdiction. And with these NFT games, a lot of regulators are like, we're not sure what's allowed and what's not because this is all new and we don't have any regulation for this. VB code enable, text custom effects, fit content, override, blah, blah, blah. Get line. We need to do something with color. Push color. Add color tag to the tag stack. I've never used these rich text labels yet. Been working in Godot for 2 years, never used them before. Okay, let's first get the data, then we'll figure out the rich text label stuff. And then Mario also knows what I mean, and maybe Mario has a quick solution for us. So back to the armory. In the info card, we have all our offense, damage, rough, range, tracking, etc., etc. So here we're setting the header, resetting the stat fields. So here we calculate the final stat. But we need to get the quality. Okay, quality is just source I. Okay. First question, I guess, is does our turret display... Okay, our turret is currently not displaying... is displaying even those stats that he has a 0 value for. So let's start off with the turrets. Those are going to be the easiest. Basically what we have to do, we have to go for I in stat array. Tooltip mode type. So we're gonna go for each stat in the stat array. We're gonna get the stat node. So that would be the HBox container to which we have to add data. Now we're checking if source has I. Technically, actually, we are going to need to do this, especially once we get into the parts. So we have to say if source has I. then we want to show the stat node. That's not necessary for the turret, but as we are, as you can see, when we select a part, we're basically hiding all the parameters that this particular part does not modify. But if we were to compare this part to another part that, for example, instead of damage adds tracking speed, then of course the quality is going to be -20 for damage, and then for tracking speed it's going to be plus whatever. So we would have to then show that stat, because that would have been hidden by now. So we're going to show that stat if source. We don't have the source currently. That's interesting. So we need to get here we get the category. So if Devin, chill, don't speak English, but I'm waiting for you to put the game token up for sale. This game is not gonna have a game token, so don't have to wait. We'll be utilizing existing tokens on Secret Network. There's no need for us to release a token for this project. I don't see how we will be able to create enough utility for that token to allow that token a long-term future. So you'll be using secrets for the transaction side, and we'll probably support a stablecoin, native stablecoin on the network. And on the marketplace, you trade in whatever the seller wants, which is most likely going to be secret. And Mario, that might actually be sooner than you expect. And Devin, chill, maybe to give that a little bit of background. And I'll try and keep this simple, as you say that you don't speak English as well as a native person does. Many NFT games they require an investment. I think the best game to compare that to is Axie Infinity, where players these days need $500 to $1,000 to buy their first Axies before they can start playing the game. No Axies, no game start. What we try to do with this game is we try to lower that barrier of entry. Ideally, we get tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even more players to play this game that are not in crypto yet, that are just, completely oblivious to blockchain. They don't know about blockchain, have never used it. So the game is going to be built in such a way that you can start playing this game and start earning NFTs even when you don't have a wallet, you don't have any crypto experience, you don't have any startup secret, you don't have any tax money. Tax money isn't transaction money. We're basically going to lower that barrier of entry into the NFT gaming space to absolute zero. You can just download it from the Play Store, you can start playing and start earning NFTs. So to lower that barrier of entry, we cannot create our own token with utility, because if we create a token with utility, then you need that token to start playing the game competitively. So we don't want that. We want to keep that barrier of entry low, and potentially therefore kickstart something new, and hopefully invite a whole new community into NFT gaming that currently has no interest in NFT gaming because they have no interest in blockchain. You could technically play this game forever, without ever making a blockchain wallet. Although you won't have full ownership and control over your NFTs because they will be custodial by the development studio, by us. So there's a certain qualifiers that we have identified for what we want this game to be, but also where we think NFT gaming should go as an industry. And we're trying to make sure that this game, Orbem Wars, sticks to those qualifiers. Otherwise, I guess we would have failed. So we feel quite strong about that. So we have to live up to our own standard. Simi, welcome to the stream. All right. So the problem is we currently don't have a source, and we do need that source. Now that source needs to come from whatever part that we've actually clicked. So we have a on schematics. Okay, now these are the actual parts, tiers, buttons. We need the load inventory. Our load inventory schematics is on inventory schematic pressed. Can we find that? Here it should, if schematic node pressed is false, if tooltip mode is tier comparison, show info card, tier slot, else hide the info card. So here we're initiating the comparison of the tier, and we're pushing the tier to that function. What we would want to push extra here is the actual source. We'll probably have to adjust this. Yeah, that's going to be in part as well. So here we need to get the source as well. That means we need to define the source. Now we can define the source up here. And actually, easy will be here, because here we get the schematic node get name. So here we have, part 1, part 30, part 68, whichever one you have. So now we can define a new variable source as equal to the game data, the player inventory, or not. Where are you getting this from? Source, parts, player data, of course. This is schematic. So we get the game data, player data, the player data, p inventory, parts, event selected part, and then we can push the source. And we can do the same, player data, p inventory, schematics, and then the event selected schematic. That should allow us to push that to the source. Now, it's 0.2 many arguments and initiate comparison. That's true. Okay, so now you have a source. So now source has I, and we're going to show that stat. Okay, so far so good. Now what we need to do, if source has I, if game data, item data, we need some code that is very similar to this. So we're gonna get the item ID. We're gonna check if the default implementation is not null. Now we're never gonna change the design value. So we can delete that and delete this. And I guess we need to split this up. We can call this a new text, which is going to be the get node, stat node, get node, quality. But now we're going to get the text. And we're going to add now this is going to be way too long. So I'm going to split this up. So we need to get the old text. We need to generate a new text, which is going to be the old text plus space, a space with a bracket open, plus the comparison value, plus a bracket close. Now this value will be the comparison value, which is going to be the integer. Maybe I should take the float of the old text. Or better yet, it's what we need to deduct, because we also need to get the float of source I and then this new text. So all text is going to be a text, but this would still be a float. So we have to turn all of that into a string. Then I can go into new text, and set text is going to be new text. Now else stat node, get node, quality, set text 0. This is not applicable. Well, set 20 arguments for show info card. Expected at most 1. Line 226. Is that still relevant? Oh, did this wrong. This is initiate comparison. With rich text labels to use BB code, you have to use BB code text instead of text, and you need to ensure BB code nail is true. I know that we need to adjust this. Let's just first make sure that our data is correct, and then we can start coloring it with a rich text label. Okay. So according to this turret is going to have a quality of 220. That's correct. and a range of 320. That's correct. And a tracking of 1.4. That's correct. And a kinetic penetration 35, 35. That's looking exactly the way it should look. Cost, however, this costs 250. Actually, yeah, that makes sense. Cost 450. Yep. All right, that looks good. Only there's not a single value negative, so we'll have to work. Actually, no, we can't do that. Assuming this all still works. It doesn't work anymore. I can't track this thing anymore. Oh wait, now the question is, can I not track this because now I'm clicking the rarity icon, or can I not track this? That's probably the issue, right? Yeah, okay. That's an interesting one. So because we have added this rarity tag to it, we can't drag the icon anymore. So with the mouse, you just have to ignore the mouse input. Rarity, mouse, ignore, save, play the game. Log back in, armory. Yeah, now I can drag them again. Now I can fit this turret in tier 2 here, and I would be able to compare it to this one here. Now we can already see, like, you know, we keep this icon here, we keep this rarity indicator in there. There's stuff to update on the drag and drop functionalities to make sure that that's gonna play nice with the rarity tag. But I should be able to compare this to this turret, and we should be able to see negative values, and we do see negative values. So that's working. That's working. Okay. Now rich text labels. So I have to go back into the armory. I don't need the header. We would, for example, need damage. Where we, for example, have the quality. On the script search, rich text label. Rich text can contain custom text, fonts, images, and some basic formatting. The label manages these as an internal text stack. It also adapts itself to given width and heights. Assignment to BB code text: clear the text stack and reconstruct it from the properties content. Any edits made to BB code text will erase previous edits made from other manual sources, such as append BB code and push pop-up methods. Doesn't support entangle BB code text. For example, instead of using B bold, I bold, italic, use B bold, I bold, italic, BI, italic, I. Of course, makes total sense. Unlike label, rich text label doesn't have any property or horizontally align text to the center. Oh, instead enable BB code enabled and surround the text in a center tag as follows: center, example, center. There's currently no built-in way to vertically align text either, but this can be emulated by relying on anchors, containers, and a fit content height property. Okay. Currently, our nodes are aligned vertically and horizontally. BB codes are an interesting choice for formatting text over HTML. Yeah, I want it because I need part of the text to be red and I need part of the text to be white or green or another color. How many newcomers to Godot were still around for forums where BB code came from? I don't know. Vertically may not be needed. That's true. That's true. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. I guess, you know, before I go crazy, No, this is the only node that I can use, right? It's not like some other magical node that I can use. Simplest one, where you don't have to add a second node to the mess. Yeah, that's what I would have otherwise done. I would have added a second node, but to make that all align is gonna be hard enough. Okay, so now I need to know what the BB code. Is there some resource somewhere that I can click into? Okay, there we go. So we only need the color. Change text color, use name or format such as, okay. Okay, I think I get it. So let's try. Say that var new text is going to be then we'll go for a nice red. Then the text is test, end of color. I'm probably doing things wrong here. When you use BB code and apply BB code, use BB code and apply BB code 2, that changes the text field to the non-BB code version of it. It will never retain it. Yeah, I just read that. All I'm wondering now, like, it's expecting. So I'm still doing something wrong here. Where was this example? So how do I sue? Oh. No. Oh wait, the color is done a little bit differently here. So for the color, I have to remove these brackets. And the actual text is not in curly brackets at all. I don't know. Yeah, I need that center command as well. Absolutely right there. Surprised YouTube didn't just get that out of there, but I guess I still need to sort of initiate the BB code command somehow. Do I just do that like is BB code? Yeah, I know I need to enable it, but I mean, my code is still giving me an error. So it's definitely not happening right now. You put it in quotes. All right, so we will. We'll say accelerate test is damage, and we'll use accelerate test. Then I'll do okay, no, not that. I guess we'll just change type. Put this in a rich text label. I have to activate the BB code. BB code enabled. Hit content hide, they said. And now we're using set text. That's probably not correct. String BB code text. That sounds like set BB code. Set BB code or set BB code text. Set BB code. Okay. Oh wow, that looks freaking ugly. You got a long ways to go here. To play Starbucks flat, holy balls. Okay. So custom fonts. Mono font, bold font, italic font, normal font. Load the normal font. Yeah, what was that? Design. Custom fonts. We were using Play R20 OL1. Play R20 OL1. And then text scroll. Okay, and now we can say, got alt text. And then we got, yeah, this is a problem, huh? So can I then, oh, this may be interesting. Can I then do this? Oh, that's gonna be very interesting. Okay, let's see how far that got us. Okay, I missed a bracket. But that looks a lot better already. Can I be cheeky? Can I just say put it in there? And if that works, can I then also be cheeky and put this in here? Center FS, color, format FS, alt text, SS is C value. I don't even understand what it does, and I don't see my brackets either. Okay, so it's now centered horizontally, but it's not centered vertically yet. Format. As you format the string, the dictionary of values. Now it's I said it's horizontally is correct. Center is correct. Center is doing what I wanted to do. It's the other thing that was fit content height. If true, the label's height will be automatically updated to fit its content. Yeah, it's used to work around to fix issues with rich in containers, but it's unreliable in some cases and will be removed in future versions. Oh. Without comparison. Yeah, let's worry about that later. Let's first get one thing correct. So I'll probably have to change the behavior of the container or the node within the container. Yeah, I'm thinking about vertical shrink to center. Still doesn't look like that's gonna align. But your text doesn't even look centered at all. I think we're gonna get to a point where either all of it has to be rich text label, or we're gonna need that second column. Because this is gonna be one hell of a thing to align. Are you trying to center that label? Yeah, I am. But it's not a label, it's a rich text label. Because of the icon? I'm not sure it's the icon. I think it's part of the font as well. If you have a look at the rate of fire, it's the same issue. This text is just a little bit low. It hangs low for some reason. You sometimes have that in the font data. So either everything has to be a rich text label. If I put that label in another HBox container and put alignment center in that HBox container. Yeah, but I'm not going to introduce nodes just for that. That's I understand how that could work. But I'm not gonna bloat my node tree with what would be, in my opinion, unnecessary nodes. We can see how they shrink, because if it's in the font data, then maybe this rich text label is gonna take this over. Would be almost too good to be true. Nah, but isn't that slightly higher? Or maybe if we set, well, you already set shrink to center. I don't see it. think think that puts them at the right height. It's hard to see though. Start pixel searching. Where's my ruler? I'll put my ruler next to it. Yeah, that looks really good. All right. Now the problem is we'd have to do this for every freaking label. It's only to change it to top, right? It's only changing all of these to top is going to be or okay, here's a crazy thought. If I were to delete these three and I were to put that in there, that should do it. What was wrong with it? It was the vertical alignment was off in the row. But I think that this is probably the fastest way. I love the fact that they have introduced copy pasting of nodes. What would we do without it? Imagine that they didn't have this yet, and you would have to merge from scene everything. No, not this one. All right. Now, first thing we need to do is what Mario already mentioned, is in the design here, we gotta change to include the center tag. So we're gonna set BB code. Then we're gonna use string source I. But we're gonna do center, no, center plus end center. Beta dragon. Can't help it. I stream always at the same time. Misplaced column. Where the heck do I put a column? I probably missed something. Yeah, this part is all wrong. Take that out. Put it in there. And the bracket there. Okay, that's him happy. Okay. So now we got all that correct. However, this color is still, this color needs to be flexible. So var c color is going to be if, no, slightly different, is if the C value, and this is not going to be 100% correct. I just want to test some stuff out. If C value is bigger you know what? If it's equal to 0, then our C color, which of course would have to be defined first, is something, and else if C value is bigger than 0, then C color is something, and else means that C color is something. Now currently this is red, so that will be if it's smaller than, and then we need to get green. I don't care which green, a green, and that's if it's bigger than 0. And then when you go back to white, of course the only downside is that some gray, yeah, I mean one can just be white. I can go with pure green and pure red as well. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter later. Let's not polish it up. Let's first make it work. I know you want to help Mario. Sometimes, you know, let's first get the contours of all this stuff correct before we start polishing how it actually looks. The problem is some stats, when the comparison is positive, that's positive. Sometimes when the comparison is positive, it is negative. You know, if you're talking about the cost, more expensive is negative. But if you talk about the damage, more damage is positive. So we're probably going to have to build a array of stats and in which category they belong or something like that. And then we have to determine from there whether we need to color something green or red. For now though, we should now be able to say that here we take the color, plus minus C color. Okay, this whole var text, old text, new text, blah blah text, this can all be gone. Let's see how it looks now, or where we get an error. We do that. Info card. Oh, was it modulate? Yeah, it was modulate. Do you have to use hexadecimal for coloring Godot? No, you don't have to. You can also use other types of color code. You can use with vectors, RGB. Basically, you got options. Oh, that's interesting. So this is all nicely centered, but this is not. And that's because we're skipping up. Yeah. Duh. That's because we're here. So we need to, again, use this here, but instead of string source yada yada, we just say 0. Won't say a word. Hey, string and integer and operators is equal to. Actually, let's turn this into a float because some of them are floats. Value is equal to 0.1. If it's bigger, points on, and otherwise. Okay. It only parses on setting the text. Whoa. First of all, why are you white? You should be green. Let's first fix that. And I already saw that we need to go back to the full stat array and not the test array we just implemented here. So that can be removed now. So if float C value is equal to 0. How can that ever be true? C value is 70. Mean 80 is 0. Need the don't clip it. Don't clip it. All right, we're getting there. Hey, Anno Gaming. And now if we compare the other way around, so we would compare this versus this one, they become red. There we go. That looks nice. But like I said, in this case, the costs are going down. So we would want to display that value in green, where here the damage goes down. So that's correct that we're displaying in red. Points, yeah, the rest should all be red. But we want the cost to be green there. So we have positive and negative values. Is that, I guess it's quite limited. The rate of fire, how do we do that? So this is 0.1 seconds between each shot. So if this goes down, that's actually positive. So rate of fire is a, how do you call it in English? Negatively correlated value, whatever. I don't know. Range, positive is positive. Tracking, positive is positive. Penetration, positive, 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 positive. It's only cost and rate of fire. Only constants is up, good, down, bad. Well, I think it's even easier. Since it's only two variables, we should just be able to test for those two, and we don't have to create any array or whatever. This is always going to be the case. We could say that here if I is equal to rate of fire or I is equal to cost, then C color is green, else C color is red, and otherwise if color it's green or the other way around, otherwise it's being red. The background song, this it's all from Harris Heller Stream Beats. Harris Heller is like quite a famous YouTuber that's doing like, he's like your stream doctor. So if you like streaming, definitely have to follow Alpha Gaming YouTube channel. And he created his own record label called Stream Beats to provide DMCA free, copy strike free music. He's got like bunch of playlists with hundreds of songs, and this is the lo-fi playlist. So just Google Stream Beats, you're gonna find it. Streambeats.com, yeah, absolutely, gotta find it. String meant string. String does mean string. String float, is that even possible? String.float. String.float. Oh, float. No matches. Not sure where you found that. All right, that looking sweet. Now the other way around. Everything red except for the cost. Okay. Now for the parts. This is the interesting part because here we need to get different things to show up. So parts. Yeah. Oh no, actually no. This is correct. This is correct. I need a part. I need a part with different stats. Okay, we have the gimmick one. It's been modified by another program. No. And we need to definitely. Okay, client is already closed. Then we don't have a JSON lint here anymore. That's a shame. So we're gonna get this data, push it in here, validate this, and we're gonna add another part to our inventory temporarily. It's gonna be a messed up part. It's gonna be part number 2. And we're just gonna add a element. Let's just give this 5 damage, and let's add kinetic resistance, because why not? So we'll add, this adds 35 kinetic resistance. And just like that, we have, oh, there's only one problem though. We do need, I'm afraid we do need this entry in the database. So I'm just gonna say this is part 1999. Oh, this is I have to change more here than I ideally want to change. We need to open this in the file manager, in the item data. We need to get this entry. We need to add that here, change that into 9999. We're gonna keep power core the same and antimatter core the same, otherwise it doesn't have an icon. That's the whole sort of problem here. And then we're gonna say that the kinetic penetration is 35, but the damage is only 5. And I'll copy this, close it, save file, yes to all in this case. I'm gonna open this in the file manager, open this item data. Add the same item here. Okay, let's see how much I screwed up now. Need quantum core. Okay, so now we got 2 parts, but one does damage where the other one does damage and kinetic resistance, and it doesn't show the kinetic resistance. How is that possible? How is that possible? How can this be 0? Reboot the server. Oh, no. Did I just accidentally? Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm not sure, though, if it's the rebooting the server. Let's quickly close that. Resource hugging program that is. No, it's not that. Oh, I'm pretty sure this is in the JSON itself. Part 2. Show info card. If the game data, item data, string source, item ID, I is something else than null, then we show it, otherwise 0. So it would still mean that in the game data, it doesn't show up properly, or it's not put properly. So this is the game server. You would expect this then to be wrong on the game client. Wait. Instead of kinetic penetration, kinetic resistance. Slight detail. And right, this is the way I changed it, right? Not that I'm yeah, kinetic resistance. So yeah, we had the wrong dictionary key. This should remain null. Kinetic resistance 35. Save. Although it's not necessary, let's reboot the server. Armory parts, normal, kinetic resistance. All right, so now we can open this turret. And if we were to compare that to an item that has kinetic resistance, then we get some very interesting stats. We would expect this value here to be 0. And then with a final quality of 35, or a comparison value of 35. So for when we loaded the info card up initially, it looked into the item data. It found that the kinetic resistance was null, and therefore the quality was set to 0. Then we initiated the comparison, and we said that the game item data string source item ID is not null. We identified that. So the alt text, it gets the text, which would be null at that point. And the C value is the source 35 minus the alt text. So somehow it had put 20 in there. That seems unlikely. Is that a default value that's maybe in there? Kinetic resistance, right? I mean, think there's no default value in here at all. Yeah. Oh boy. I knew. I was reading this code and I was like, nah, there's something going wrong there. That's because we are getting a string to a float maybe wrong. I honestly doubt that part, but welcome to suggestions. So the problem is that in order to get the old value, we get the current text of that field, which is problematic. We need a deep. I don't think so. No, no deep duplicate. This is this is also not it, because the quality comes out of the game data. No, that actually comes out of the source. Comes out of the source. I think we can just use I. That is actually a ton easier than I thought. Convert that into a string, or we just turn this into a float, and then we don't have to convert to a float anymore here. Decimal point in a string, how that work? There's no decimal point in a string. What I'm doing is I'm getting one float and I deduct another float from that. So this is just a calculation minus plus, and whatever the outcome of that float, of this calculation, is turned into a string. So, and I need it to be a string, because if it's not a string, I cannot put it into a label, because a label doesn't take a float or an integer. A label takes a string. That's why it's a label. Okay, let's first check if this fixes the comparison chain. String and float in the operation plus. There you go. Otherwise you get that. That's why everything needs to be float. String and float in the operators plus. Well, the alt text. Okay, yeah. No, that's it. So we do have to keep this float. And we have to take this string. String was letters. A string can be anything. It can be special characters, dots, points, commas. I mean, any character that you got on your keyboard can be a string. There we go. Now that works. Okay, that's one thing fixed. Now we need to fix evaluate the next kinetic resistance on the basic scenario. Nice. But at the same time, it's the fix. At the same time, it fixes the other thing. That's nice. If selection source has I var alt text, and alt text is, otherwise alt text is going to be 0. There you go. Okay, but I know what's coming now. Now if I deselect the comparison, we're gonna keep kinetic resistance here. Oh no, we don't. We reinstantiate. Oh, don't clip it. It's good, but don't clip it. Nice. Oh, but this doesn't work. Okay, so when we switch parts where one has certain characteristics and the other one doesn't, then we're left with this nonsense. Does that mean that when we switch from one comparison to the other, we first have to reinstantiate or reload the info panel? It seems kind of heavy. On the other hand, we're in a freaking user interface. This can handle like 200,000 executions per frame. So it's not like we don't have the CPU available to us to do all of this. Just wondering, as category, how do we get the category? You know the type. Or can we somehow elegantly undo a previous comparison? Well, I wouldn't really call this bug hunting yet. You know, it's just we're building this feature first time out. There's just this game relies quite heavily on this user interface panel. There's a lot of functionality in this user interface panel. A user interface panel it looks so easy. A good user interface looks easy to make, but it's incredibly complex to make. In that regard, the expression looks are deceiving. It's definitely true for good UI. Okay, so we know that we are in comparison mode. And when a player selects, where are you, for example, on inventory part pressed, and actually we only have to reinstantiate the info card or the info card information on a part, because on a tower there's always every single stat available. So if the tooltip mode is part comparison, okay, this is if the part node pressed is false. And otherwise, that means we are pressing on it. We are testing if the tooltip mode is equal to part slot, or the tooltip mode is equal to part comparison. Initiate comparison with part source. Okay, that makes sense. Because if it's part slot, then we need to activate the part comparison. If it is part comparison, I guess we are gonna split this up. We're gonna delete this OR. We're gonna take this logical test. We're gonna add this logical test as an else if statement in between here, at which point we're also going to do the initiate comparison, but on top of that we are going to do the show info card part slot. So that will reset the info card so that we should be able to switch between parts without screwing everything up. So now if I were to press this one again, we expect kinetic resistance to disappear. There we go. Now it disappears. I think that's it. I think that's our comparison tool. Okay. Thank you, sir. Don't worry, don't have to thank me. It's not a video, it's just streaming. It's I mean, I've been doing this for 2 years. 2 years I'm here, 3 hours long, every Tuesday, every Thursday. Of course, except holidays and stuff like that, or when things are just really crazy in my life. But I think I've definitely missed less than 10 streams in the past 2 years. So you don't have to thank me. I'm just working on my own project and sharing that with the world. So easy. Absolutely easy, Anno Gaming. Absolutely easy. Okay, so one thing that we have to do that sort of came out of all of this experimenting, we started out this stream by adding this rarity indicator in the top right corner of all the inventory and schematic slots. Right now we have the issue that these slots remain when we drop something in our build bar. We got 45 minutes left. You know what? Let's take that. And if we have time left at the end of the stream, because we got 45 minutes left, we'll do that at the end of the stream, because that's not going to be too special. And also we have another problem, because if we remove these slots, then we need to be able to drag these slots into this big container. So we definitely have to add functionality to drag and drop stuff. Let's first make sure that you can actually use these towers. Hey, and I see another problem, because I've dragged this tower to the tier to the first tier slot, but that should automatically update the build bar with that icon, and it hasn't. So we got some minor issues there. But first, I want to make sure that we can actually start the game again. So it's actually funny, because I haven't probably streamed this in a long time. Let's hope this all still function. Yeah, this all still functions. But the problem is, this should all still function. Yeah, this is all still functional. We still see the loot data, although I will have to update the loot data. Maybe we don't. I'm not sure if we have to update that part. But anyway, when I was testing out this afternoon, when I hit start, I was already getting issues, because of course it couldn't find the tier, because we renamed tier 1 to T1 and tier 2 to T2, and we made a lot of minor adjustments to the data set just to make things shorter and more readable. So I did a couple of quick changes there, but then I already figured out, well, it's not loading the actual build tower bar. So there's definitely something going wrong here. I missed this part. I'm not sure which part you're talking about, Bearded Dragon. Whether you're talking about the universe, the campaigns, or whether you're talking about this. This was actually quite early. This is one of the first things we did. This is, I think, episode 1 to 8 or 9 or something like that. We also get some errors here. And it's saying that it cannot find icons Railgun 1. And I believe we renamed that to Railgun T1. Yeah, so somewhere in the code. Okay, here we go. So that's a relatively easy one. So this needs to be T1. Yeah. Should just log out. Oh, not Armory. Start game. Campaign. Solar system. Planet. Okay, so now our gun is back, but we're only loading 1. We're not loading 5. So there's something wrong in the game scene there when we load. Let's update the build bar. Oh, that's actually for when we get income. I would expect, or is it maybe on the UI? It could be on the UI code. Let's open up our game scene itself. Probably need to go in there anyway at some point. In the game scene UI. No, it's also not here. Hey, interesting. Is it then sort of on a load function? Speed up, play, set current preview, load map. Oh, here we go. For I get tree, get notes in group build button. So did we accidentally, here we got, well, we definitely need 5 towers now because we've added an extra tower. These are all in that group. If player data, P towers, I get name, category. Ah, here we go. It's looking for category. Pretty sure I deleted that. Yeah, pretty sure I did. Parts data, tower data. So here we get tower data, tower 1, tier 1 with all that information. Here we get tier 2, tier 3. And then we still have actually category. Quite surprised by that. but the category is null for those, which apparently it made me decide in the past that then they should not be there. Else I hide. Should we hide them? I don't. It looks so weird now. I mean, we've been playing this game, building this game for what, 3 months now, and it has always been hidden. But really, it's like, shouldn't it maybe be a visual cue for the player? Like, hey, maybe you should fit some other towers. You know, maybe hint, hint. Okay. There we go. Here we got another one. Tier 1 needs to be T1. And there's a lot like that. There's a lot like that. So we just have to go through them one by one until we can actually... Hey, okay, that looks good. Can I build them? Oh, no, of course not. Oh, here we go. Tier 1. Supposed to delete this. Logging in is a little bit faster then. Here, here, tier. And the tier 1 is hard coded because you always build, you know what? Find tier 1. No matches. Okay, got them all by the looks of it. Tier 1 is hard coded because when you build a tower, you always build tier 1 first. And only then when you select the tower and click upgrade, you upgrade it to tier 2, tier 3, etc. So now, can we again have... No, still not. If I could index damage, yeah. Oh boy, that's gonna be a couple of them. Damage, range, rough. I'm pretty sure this is now jam strength. Yeah. Are we gonna have any other of those? Cost. Let's just skim over this. See if we find anything that we're like, oh, gotta change that to cost category. Base attack. That all looks good. Now where were we? Around here somewhere. Here. Upgrade menu, item ID. Oh, here we got another one. Player, tower, tower slot, tier plus string new tier. Now this is going to be T plus string new tier. Currency need to be cost. Timeout, game scene UI. Force close it. All right, let's give that a shot. Let's see if we can have our attack of the cubes again. There we go. That turret is coming out of the ground. I love that. I did miss this. I didn't look at this often enough. And just for fun and giggles, let's turn the sound off for a moment. It was at minus 30 decibels. I'm not sure how loud this is going to be, but there we go. Attack of the cubes is back. All right, turn that volume down. Back to 30 and play the music. All right, I believe we still have to deconstruct all of these if we don't want to crash out of it. And then we should be able to go back. All right, so game logic fixed. Game logic is now compatible with our new data structure. The last thing that I said we would do is work on our armory schematics and parts. When we fit them into and drag and drop them, we basically need those slots to be... I think it's easiest to just remove the slot and that's it. I think that makes the most sense with how I want the inventory in the future to work. So that is going to be, yeah, that's a good question. Of course, we have our base drag and drop data, but the drag and drop data lives on the icon. That's actually not true. I mean, yes, I mean the part slot on the icon of the part slot. So this is, let's say, an inventory slot, not let's say, this is an inventory slot. The icon has the drag and drop script. So that has the script that only gives it a couple of variables and has the mouse entered and exited. I don't even think we need these anymore. I've already commented out all that code. We can delete this now. That also means that we can remove these signals, which are some great signals to remove because those trigger like a gazillion times a second. Probably also means that we can make that simplification on the schematic slot. Yeah, I commented out on the 12th of October for the new Armory UI. Don't need these anymore. And also we can disconnect these signals. Some cleanup. So the part slot, the icon has that code. These are just some brainstormings. It has some basic information and it inherits from the drag and drop script. So, of course, we cannot activate the removal of this node in a script that is attached to this node itself. However, in the drag and drop script, when you start dragging an item on this script, on this slot script, the function get drag data as run. But then when you drag that item back up before deleting like that, I don't like backups. I push the GitHub like once every 3 months or something like that. I'm pretty bad at that. But no, that can be deleted. That can be deleted. That's I'm working on this project pretty much every single day of the week. Although not like this part of the code. I'm doing a lot on the smart contract side on the blockchain every day. So I'm so into this project. I delete things really easily. I know we don't gonna need it anymore. And the reason being that I delete this very easily because this was basically, we still got that here. I just quickly play. What we were doing in the past in the armory is that once you hovered over one of these railguns or you hovered over one of these railguns or these parts, then this info panel would pop up. So the info panel would trigger based on where your mouse entered, if it entered a certain slot. Well, first of all, that made it look very jittery. It didn't feel great. But on top of that, we are also planning to release for mobile. And of course, with mobile, you don't have any mouse hover, mouse entered, or mouse exited signals because there's no mouse. So on a mobile version, we would have to do press signals anyway. And that's where we changed this to. So we changed all these buttons to toggle buttons, and we've removed that mouse entered and exit signal, and we don't want to use it anymore because that's non-compatible with mobile in the future. So that's why I'm deleting this stuff very easily. I just know I don't need it anymore. So back to the dragging and dropping. When you pick up an icon, or an item, or a part, or a schematic from the inventory, or from the build bar for that case, we're running the function get drag data on that icon. But then as you hover or drag, if you drag that icon over to another icon, for example, this one right here, what happens is that now the can drop function is run on the script of that node. So that node is being activated as you're dragging an icon over it. And then if this returns true, then when you actually drop it, the drop data function of the target slot is being run, which means that this could delete I say that, but in some cases we are of course switching the slot. So I guess we only should delete the slot when there is no switch. So here we're dragging the tower to an inventory. Here we're dragging the tower to a tier. So the tier button, armory, get node, b main tier bar, target slot / target slot becomes the tier button that we want to set, and the armory on tier selected tier button is true. Here, this is probably a self-category. Here I have to check for T1. That's probably why that icon didn't pop up in the main panel. Okay, so here we change that if the data origin category is tier slot or data origin category is schematics inventory. Okay. Currently, we support taxi time. All right, Sigurd. See you next time. Probably talk to you tomorrow or real soon. I am, by the way. Don't forget, Sigurd. I'm on holiday until next week, Wednesday. So next Tuesday, no stream for everybody. Next week, Tuesday, no stream. I'll be having my first holiday in like 2.5 years, and 4 days long, the weather forecast is thunderstorms and rain. Heavy rain. So much for your first holiday in 2.5 years. Hope that changes. I never had it so bad. I know, rain. Well, this country that I'm going to is supposed to have 300 sunny days in a year. So like the 4 days that it rains in a row is exactly there where I'm going. Might see snowing here. Well, definitely no snow here yet, but yeah, autumn in the Netherlands isn't great. Although this autumn, I must say, is pretty good. But Malta is supposed to have 300 sunny days a year, and they're definitely not from the time that I'm there. Or yeah, I think let's first see if this fixed that one issue that we had. But then before I start making changes here, I think I first have to very carefully think how I want the drag and drop functionality to work, and the inventory more generally to work. So what I want to do here, oh, that's interesting. Now we got all these turrets, but we also got this stuff here. That feels wrong, but it could also be because I ran into a couple of errors. It's actually kind of handy now for testing purposes. But so now if I drag this one here, yeah, so this slot fills up. So that's good. That's the way I would expect it to be. Now I should be able to drag this back if I get index tier on the base dictionary. If data origin tier is data target dictionary tier, or data target dictionary tier is null. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, there's quite a lot I think I'll have to change with the new data structure in relation to this drag and drop data. That's definitely not for the next 25 minutes because that won't be enough, and I don't think I'm sharp enough anymore for that either. So that is gonna go on the Trello board. Oh, the Trello board, Armory, fix drag and drop with new data structure. No standard. Empty data fields. Okay, that is of course a must-have for the initial release. What we also need to do, I think one of the first things you can do is probably update a lot of this stuff. I mean, I did so much of this. I haven't really updated the Trello board a lot recently. For the contract design, do contract and event points, integrate point tracking system. Yeah, okay, that's all true. That's all needs to be done. We should have a lot of these red fields on the armory because we've been working on the armory for like the past 4 or 5 streams. Better player feedback for current selection, circuit board or contrasted color button, folding mini screens. We've went for the contrasting color button. I will add a new task saying consider polishing up the player's selection feedback with circuit board animation. I'll add this one, but this is now going to be a could have probably and not a must have, because the basic player feedback that we would need for an early access, that's definitely done. Tooltip for both inventory that compares to current selection. That's what we did today. So that's done. For tooltip NFTs, we need stat range with possible color feedback, good or bad roll. I don't think we're gonna do a good bad roll because then you're gonna get too much color everywhere. That doesn't seem right. But we have included a stat range for NFTs. We just need to update the item data, and that's maybe that needs to be in the data section then. Data and database, split up, unify data labels among item data and save file. We've actually done that as well. That was part of the big data overhaul that we did. Split up and update item data with min and max values along with full rarity list. That's the one that I definitely need to do. Further on in the armory, here we got a should have tooltip as a blue text glitch when it appears, likely issue with tween interpolating modulate. That's true, and we fixed that. More clear indicator for NFT items, badges. Well, currently it's now. Oh, this is interesting how this item. Oh, yeah, because we crashed. I'm like, oh, that item doesn't really look like it went into the slot. So currently, you can pretty much immediately recognize when you have an NFT when you go beyond blue or, white or green in terms of the rarity color coding. You can also see the tag level, modern, of course, being not NFT, where quantum would be an NFT. And you can also recognize it by the issue and the issued parameters, which with an NFT are going to display which issue you have of the total amount that will ever be issued. And then with issued, this is just dummy data. So this one is not actually logical. But then the number of turrets of this particular type that have been issued so far. So with all that, and then of course the design is going to look differently because right now only the damage has a range, but that in the future will be a range for all these stats except for the ones that are 0. So you get a ton of feedback now between what is an NFT and what is not an NFT. So I think we can consider that done. Add code to tooltip window, that's definitely done. Add empty slots to schematics and parse into how to deal with schematic naming. That's a good question. That's one of the big questions that are also that ties into the whole drag and drop question. So I think I'm gonna drag that fixed drag and drop up here. Add text and load text into the parts bar. Yeah, in the past we had a parts bar. We no longer have a parts bar. I will say, now that I read that actually we currently miss something that we used to have. Now it would be rather easy to add this, but we used to have a piece of text regarding the items. And I guess we could just add another text field underneath here. It will be all the way down. And I don't care because, you know, the story, the narrative of, you know, this, in this case, the railgun, that doesn't really matter. That doesn't really matter at all. You know, people will, in 99.8% of cases, be here looking at this window because they want to know the stats, and they want to know, is my turret stronger or weaker than the turret that I just found or bought or about to buy. So the narrative, and for example, with the railgun, you know, we want to talk about, you know, with graphene technology being improved and the introduction of graphene batteries, you know, the railgun technology to blah 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 blah. You know, that little bit of like lore around the game that's definitely going to be in there. That can just be a field underneath, and we missed that now. I haven't accounted for that in the new UI, but it's very easy to add. So I guess we could rename this. So that was not this one. Add text, load text in the parts bar. We're gonna change it. Add a lore text field on the bottom of the S scroll container in the info card. Change the button icons for the tower slots, tiers, and maybe parts. Did that. NFT, create NFT card for IPFS. Did that. Use the IPFS card template to build a tooltip after the IPFS card. Did that. Consider polishing and play selection feedback. Oh yeah. Okay, so that list got a lot smaller. That's good. That's good. So yeah, there's some less things in there that we'll, of course, still have to work on. I think important for me now are probably to set up the entire item data structure, like the full rarity list, just get everything in there. Probably not going to be balanced yet, but definitely we can now start expanding on it as we have got the rough data structure done. Now the whole laboratory part, this is something that will definitely have to be implemented because research points are going to be a part of the smart contract. So that definitely needs to be there. But the user interface and the elements of the game at early access stage is probably going to be pretty minimal. So we should be able to quickly get through the red items of the laboratory section. And now we can update the end game. But really what we need to get into are some of the elements more on the back here, which is going to be the base gameplay, advanced gameplay, and combat mechanics. I think that's a big one. I don't even really have something for that yet. So the combat mechanics, of course, we got some of the basic combat mechanics in there, but you know, jamming, resistance, penetration, damage, range, tracking. You know, I mean, we've done something for tracking, for range, for damage. I believe penetration and resistance have some basic elements in there as well. Jamming, I'm not sure, but we need to start working on these combat mechanics. We need to start working on the return fire of enemies. We need to start working on turrets, turret destruction, because enemies can destroy your turrets. So that is something we'll have to be working on. And I'm gonna start up another list here for the currency mechanics. That is the currency mechanics during a map. So this is gonna be earn currency by killing. It's going to be earn currency by, well, not mining. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll do a sort of mining mechanic in there as well. Earn currency, and that's not cryptocurrency mining, just in-game mining, virtual mining. Wrong terminology. And earn currency by blowing up stashes. It's just how I'm gonna call it. And of course, deduct currency on build. Done. I think I pretty much got that covered. And deduct currency on upgrade. Like, these are some of the, like, a lot of this is done, but at least probably some of the stuff you probably want to document. Like, for example, the formulas of all the combat mechanics, you probably want to document that somewhere centrally and not have that hidden in the code, so that we can take the formulas into account when we start balancing the different towers and the different enemies from each other. I always build the game, GUI, other stuff comes second. For me, I've started building my games very differently, pretty much from the moment that I started streaming. Normally, my games, you know, they're basically blue, red, and gray boxes, you know, going around. But yeah, when people watch a stream, they do expect to see more than blue, red, and gray boxes. So I have changed my approach to game design in that regard, or game development, and probably focus a little bit too much sometimes on the visual appearance of things. Probably too early. I probably prototype a little bit slower as a result of that. But I also feel that the 12 years of experience has probably made that I make not as many mistakes as I used to do in the prototyping phase, and therefore it doesn't really impact me that much. So yeah, I guess normally how I would make a game is just pure prototype it, send it out to friends, see if it's fun, get the feedback. If the core mechanics are fun, then definitely a polished game is gonna be fun. And then I would usually focus on the game mechanics before I focus on the UI, so that you can keep players in a loop, can keep players testing. And I must say, with this game, it's a little bit different. And that's because of all the NFT, blockchain, smart contract integrations. There's just there's a lot out there that I need to get out of the way before I can even get an alpha build out. I actually expected that we would already be, you know, alpha testing as a community, and I really hope I can get to that point quite quickly. But probably it's going to be without actual NFTs, without actual blockchain integrations. So yeah, it's all a little bit different, this game. But still, I feel like we're making good progress there where we need to make it. Maybe add a small label with scroll down for lore so it's easy to find. Otherwise, it's a bit too hidden. I don't know. You know, I sort of live by the idea that I think what a lot of people try to do in game development is make something crystal clear from the start. And I think that's a mistake. If it's core mechanics, then it either needs to be crystal clear or it needs to be included in the tutorial. But if it's not core mechanics, you should allow the player, you should rely a little bit on the player's ability to discover things. And yeah, maybe the first 3 times that they are inspecting a turret or a part, they don't find it. And maybe it's the first 30 times, maybe it's the first 100 times, because they never scroll down. But once they scroll down once and they see like, hey, there's actually a piece of lore there, you know, at that point, it's really hard to forget that. You know, and then you might be like, oh, I wonder what the lore is on the other turrets. And then you scroll down, then they start reading stuff. You know, if it's not core mechanic, then I think you should wonder whether there should be a label in the visual. You know, it's gonna make the UI look more messy. That's a fact, right? Like, minimalistic UI is always the preference. That just looks cleaner. The cleaner you can make the UI look, the better. And you should wonder, well, do I always want to have that little piece of text on the top there? Even when people have found it, that still they, you know, they're gonna see that label forever. Or they can say, you know what, maybe some players are not gonna find it the first 2 days or the first week or the first 1.5 weeks, but once they find it the first time, then they know where it is, and from there they can take it on. So, you know, it's like, and that's a tough balance, and I think that comes a little bit with experience. It's like, you know, how much of a story do you tell and how much do you leave up to the fantasy of the player? How much of the game mechanics do you explain, and how much do you rely on the player's experience or the player's ability to be self-taught? How much, you know, do you point everything out in the world, and how much do you let the player discover? Right? It's like some games don't hold your hand at all, and they say like, well, here's the sandbox, go figure it out. And then you need to rely on community-created Wikipedia pages in order to figure out how something works in the game, right? That's also an approach. Like, take, for example, Minecraft. They don't even share the recipes with you. They're just, you know, you go figure out the recipes. The community will share. And lo and behold, now we got Wikipedia pages with all the recipes for every single mod that anybody ever made, right? It's like, you should learn to rely on community, learn to rely on the player, and especially learn to rely on the player's imagination and fantasy. And just a good tutorial. That's also a big part. Tutorial step 1: go read the fan wiki. Looking. Yep. Yeah, but it's like I think it's a beginner's mistake. Well, maybe no, not even that. I think even intermediate game developers make that mistake, and maybe even advanced game developers make that mistake. That you try to make your game like a manual, detailing every single step. It's like, you know, think about it as a, you know, imagine an IKEA manual, right? And you get the IKEA manual, and the first page is always, you know, included in this package, make sure that you have, and then, you know, they have an arrow to this screw, and then the description is large screw, and then you have another arrow and a small screw. And like, duh, I could see that too. And, you know, you don't want your game to feel like duh, because that's just going to be annoying for the player. So yeah, you have to leave some of the stuff up to the player. You have to. And in this case, with this particular text field, that's something I'm definitely going to leave up to the player to discover. And once they've seen it a couple of times, they know that if they're a sucker for narrative, they can find it when they scroll down. And your game is not that complex, so I think it's not a problem. Exactly. It's like, you have to balance it. And it's different in every game, and it's different with every mechanic. And it's even different with your target audience. You know, if your target audience is kids from 8 to 12 years old, then of course you're gonna have to probably point out a couple more things, or maybe, you know, go a little bit more in depth in the tutorial. But if your game is gonna have so much blood, guts, and gore that it's gonna get an 18+ rating anyway, well, you know, you're working with a mature audience now. And then create the user interface and create the tutorial for that audience, knowing that they've probably already played a couple of games before, you know, firing up your game. So yeah, there's not one recipe for success in that regard. And it's always difficult. And it's also never a passive thing on the site. For me, that's always active. I'm always thinking like, what should I show? What shouldn't I show? What should be clear just when you start things up, and what can be discovered by itself? You know, it's like, this is gonna be it. For example, you know, What was it? What was it? I know I have to show the screen. You know, for example, something that you may have not actually noticed, but here we have green, the rarity tag. Let's have a look at the rarity tag. The rarity tag here is green, but it doesn't say anything. It doesn't have a little piece of text in there that says 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. You know, same here with this one. And here, when you open up the rarity tag, like, okay, wait a minute. This is a total of 6 icons, and 2 of them are colored. And here, 5 of them are colored, you know. But nowhere am I saying that quantum is the 5th highest rarity tier. Nowhere does it say that there is a 6, right? It's just, you sort of have to imply it from the visual feedback you get from the user interface. Some games, you know, the rarity indicator is, for example, a T1, or it's in a Roman alphabet. So 1, 2, 3. You know, you can wonder, do I need to add that text, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a Roman alphabet, for example, to indicate the rarity? Is that necessary, or can it be implied from what's going on? Can it be implied from how often you find this stuff? Can it be implied from how many are going to be issued? You know, it's like, where do you stop and where do you just let it go? And in this case, I think just the visual feedback is going to be more than enough for the target audience that I'm targeting. But if I were to be making a game for a younger audience, I would have probably added like the Roman alphabet indicator to indicate which rarity level this is. It's like small things. It's very small. That's also the reason why UI, a good UI, looks clean, feels easy, but there's a lot of thought that goes into good UI. It's one of the more complex things usually of game development. From player point. I get that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a casual tower defense game, right? It's just making a good tower defense game is even quite complex. That's where target audiences and rigorous playtesting come in. Yep. And sometimes on a gaming, you also have to, like, you know, sometimes you get the feedback during a playtesting session. It's like people say like, oh, I couldn't figure this out. But, you know, if they have been playtesting for 15 minutes, well, was it something that was supposed to be figured out in 15 minutes or not? You know, you always have to weigh the feedback you get as well. Just like you gave the feedback now, and I'm weighing your feedback against what I know, what I intend. You know, it's like, you're probably the best person to decide what is and what is not important. Is there acronym here? I never quite. Behave. We got an emoticon for that, I believe. Where is it? It's in the carousel, of course. It's in the carousel. Easy. That's funny. That behave emoticon was used a lot more in the past. A lot more. All right. It's well, I said I was gonna let you go 15 minutes early, but I guess I talked the other 15 minutes full now. So it's 1 minute to midnight. Perfect timing to end this stream. I think we made a serious amount of progress. Pretty much, you know, I said at the beginning of the stream, if we get the comparison in, the tier indicator, the tier CPUs, and we can make the main game scene or main game sequence run again based on a new data structure, then this is a successful stream. We did all of that. So it was a successful stream. Happy with the progress. Again, repeating myself, may sound like a broken record. It's not because I want to, you know, put it out there. I just want to make sure you guys don't expect me on Tuesday. I'm not going to be here next week, Tuesday. It's one of those rare weeks where I actually have other obligations, mainly to my girl, not streaming from a hotel room somewhere in the holiday destination. So I'm back on Wednesday. So next week, Thursday, stream right here, regular time. You can expect me there. You can hear me out on how all the thunderstorms looked. Looking forward to that. Like taking a vacation. In this case, it's a vacation. Yes, absolutely. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you next week, Thursday. And until then, keep on gaming, keep on coding. See you later, guys.